Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 117th episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V's in the house. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. We appreciate everyone's ongoing support. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton, in a nice new environment, brother.
What's up, Woods? Yeah, all brand new. Been here just under a week now, so I wouldn't say I'm completely set up yet. It's going okay, but yeah, a little bit of work to do. But hopefully you like the new background. There's quite a bit going on there. I'll show you a little bit of a. So we've got some bobbleheads, some Funko Pops, got some, just random stuff. You can see the Throwback Hoops little tote bag thing in the background. So, yeah, good to be here, mate. I think my internet should be pretty nice as well from the speeds I'm getting.
How crisp is the quality looking so far?
It's very good so far, isn't it? Yeah, nice.
All right. So why don't you debut your first jersey at your new home, man? What you got for us today?
So just the one jersey today, and that might be the first ever time I've said that, right? So just one jersey today. I thought I wanted to rep one of a playoff team, but full disclosure, Woods, I've got probably about 400 jerseys on one of the sofa, big sofa we've got in the front lounge room because I don't have a wardrobe for it. And this one happens to be on top of the pile, so it was probably a bit of a lazy choice, but I'll stand up and show you the one I'm wearing today, then I'll tell you a little story about this guy.
For sure. So for those who can't see and are listening to the audio, Robbie's wearing a Pacers 33 Danny Granger jersey. Real shame with Danny Granger, and injuries cost him what could have been a long career, right? I was just saying. Injuries.
Yeah, that's a random one you probably didn't know I had in the collection, right?
Phelpsy, shout out to you. I know you'd like that.
Yeah, shout out Phelpsy, you're the man, mate. Danny Granger, white Adidas Pacers jersey. A little bit about Granger. Probably a few people would have forgotten about him now. It's been a while since he was playing. So he was drafted by the Pacers at pick 17 in the 2005 draft out of New Mexico. Who's another player you think when you hear the name New Mexico, Woods? There's got to be someone that comes to your mind straight away, right?
Cam Besto, Tony Snell.
You'd be going Luke Longley first, sure.
Luke Longley,
Longley, yeah. So look, he spent nearly his entire career with Indiana before finishing off with short stints with the Clippers and the Heat. Carved out a really solid NBA career. Accolades are all rookie second team in 06. Making the All-Star game and winning the most improved player in 2009, Woods. He averaged 25.8 points that season. So he was a killer that season. So yeah, probably a little bit forgotten about there. You're right what you said before. I think very much injuries cut his career short. He had persisting knee injuries. Last played in 2015. I think he was involved in a trade to Detroit and never actually played with him. I think they waived him. Hasn't played since 2015. So he's only 41 years of age, which is pretty crazy. Apparently he's been involved in some real estate ventures. He's had a few commentary roles as well since retiring. So, yeah, a little bit on probably a name people have forgotten in Danny Granger. What were your memories on him?
Just on those Pacers teams, man, especially when he first came out of college and he took maybe a year or two to really fulfill his potential, but you thought he was going to have a long career, be a perennial All-Star. Did he make an All-Star game? I don't think
yes, I said that one season, 2009. Come on, keep up. All good. So he was kind of that Mr. Pacer before Paul George arrived as well, and then sort of Paul George arrived and sort of took the mantle from him there. But yeah, he was always a good player to watch, wasn't he? He had a bit of a versatile offensive game. I believe he's one of the very few NBA players that's a Jehovah's Witness as well, Woods, which is an interesting one. I read today, who else was it? Dwayne Dedman, and there was someone else I forget. So, yeah, pretty random to sort of read that. But, yeah, Danny Granger.
Yeah, we've seen him on NBA Game Time as well on the desk, doing some media work post-career as well. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Apparently he was an absolute star student as well, so he got offers to go to all the, really smart schools like Yale and stuff like that. I think he chose New Mexico more for their basketball program, but yeah, interesting. But what about yourself? You got the nice jersey combo going on, so a bit of Bobcats and a bit of Hornets?
Finally arrived, man. I'm just going to stand up.
Nice. Ooh, I like it. I definitely like that one.
Yeah.
Hey, firstly, Woods, I wanted to get that one, and you beat me to it. Plus, it's my favourite number, so I think I'm going to have to get that. You must have been pleased that arrived, right? Finally.
Oh,
looks good too.
Good,
I like
so
it.
Good. This is one of my, just in terms of the colour and everything.
I
really like it,
Yeah, I like it.
A little bit about Brandon Miller. Had a great rookie year. Jordan Miller, What a great name, right? He
Mm.
played college basketball for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and he was a consensus five-star recruit out of high school as well. He was the second overall pick, as I mentioned, in the, well, I didn't mention that, I said he's a rookie, but he's the second overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. And he had a storied college career, consensus second team All-American in 2023, the Wayman Tisdale Award 2023, SEC Player of the Year 2023, SEC Rookie of the Year 2023, McDonald's All-American, Tennessee Mr. Basketball. And in his rookie year, 17.3 points per game, shooting 37% from three-point land and 44% from the field. He really started to show his potential towards that back half of the year, started to rebound the ball well. He's just a guy who's built for the modern-day NBA and just seems like an all-around good guy as well, and someone who's going to have a long career because he has all the skill sets to suit the way the game is played today, right?
I mean, he could have been Rookie of the Year in other years, couldn't he? If he didn't have these two unicorns that were sort of in the running ahead of him this year. But yeah, I know he's someone we both liked from the very start of the season. I think I had him in about 3 of my fantasy teams there. Yeah, it started off a little bit slow, but then he really found his feet, didn't he? And he seemed to get better and better. Not the most ideal, probably, situation or team to get drafted to when you're playing with Charlotte. And, he pretty much didn't have a point guard for half the season with Ball being out as well. But yeah, expecting a big career from him. Yeah, I like his game for sure. I think he's one of those players that we'll see hit, big shots in his career. He seems to have that sort of gene with him as well there. So, and that might be a jersey I have to buy. Did your other one turn up as well, or is it? Yeah, so what ended up coming in?
Paddy Mills, the Paddy Mills
nice.
jersey turned up. Look, at 6'8", Brandon Miller, he could probably improve his rebounding a little bit and finish better amongst the big guys in traffic, right? And if you can work on building up a little bit and honing some of those skills I just mentioned, the sky is the limit for someone like him, right?
Absolutely. No, I love that one. Yeah, very nice jersey. I like the Jordan sort of ones as well. They're sort of
cool.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah.
All right, so before we get into things, man, it's nice to be back after a couple of weeks break, right?
Yeah,
a bit of a hiatus. So
thanks for everyone's patience. Yeah, it feels like a lot's happened. Look, I'd love to sit in here and say I've seen so much playoff basketball, but I've been real busy with this move, Woods. It's been, I think I might have mentioned the last place we were there, about 17 years. So packing up the family, packing up that place and coming here, it's been a bugger. It's rained every single day since we've lived in a new place. So I don't know what is going on with this weather in Sydney at the moment, but it's pretty ordinary. But yeah, looking forward to catch a lot of these games. I've got some nice big screen TVs that have wall mounted and stuff, so looking forward to it. And I did get to catch quite a bit of today's 2 games as well. I'm still searching for that TJ McConnell jersey as well, Woods. I'm waiting for the NBA store to have a little bit of a sale and I can save a bit there, but might get a Brandon Miller and a TJ.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it. And what about Alvarado? You want one of those too, didn't you?
I want an Alvarado as well. I don't know if 3's pushing the luck a bit. I'll see what we go. Knowing what that NBA store's like, half the ones because even I thought, geez, I would love to get a white Josh Hart New York Knicks one. They don't have any. Like, come on. Like, I don't understand that NBA store. It's like the playoffs. The Knicks are in the second round. Why would you not have a massive stock and you can make heaps of sales? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you.
I guess the other options are to buy directly from a store in America, and with the US dollar and shipping out here, we'd be looking at like $300 for one jersey. So that's probably the alternative.
All right, well, let's get into it. I want to basically go through the first round of the playoffs, have a bit of a reflection on what went on there, and what's the next step for some of these teams that have been eliminated, right? So let's start there and then look at the second round, which is going on now as well, right? So I'm just going to bring up a little slide here. Can you see that?
You've been working hard on slides. I like it. Yeah.
Well, just the one, man. But yeah,
nice.
Is that clear for you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Full playoff picture there. I want to start on the left there, all right? So the Thunder, Pelicans. Thunder won 4-0. Swept the Pelicans. Obviously, the injury to Zion Williamson didn't help. Did you get to watch much of that series?
Look, I saw bits here and there. It wasn't, I think, the most exciting series there. I think it was a bit of a foregone conclusion, and the 4-0 suggests that as well. It was a shame that Zion didn't play. It's you got to get that guy healthy, right? I think for me, one thing I did notice was Brandon Ingram. He's in a massive funk. I'm not quite sure what was going on there. There's already rumours that they're looking to trade him, even though their season finished literally, a week ago, sort of thing. So yeah, probably a little bit of a disappointing end, I guess, for the Pelicans, but I think great for the Thunder to come out of the blocks fire and get that 4-0 win. We saw them earn it's got to be a week, right? It was either 6 or 7 days that they break that they earned there as well, which is pretty cool for them. So yeah, good first round for the Thunder, and they did what they needed to do.
Okay, yeah, good. Thanks for that, Robbie. Now, talk to me a little bit about the Pelicans. You mentioned Brandon Ingram. Potentially, they move on from him. If they've been there and thereabouts around 7 to 10 in the last couple of seasons. The Pelicans in the
Yeah,
play-in, etc. What do they have to do to go to the next level? Apart from obviously Zion staying healthy, which he was
yeah,
healthy this year.
yeah.
But I mean, talk to me.
It's a funny team, isn't it? I like some of the players that they have on paper. Like I'm a Valanciunas fan. I'm a CJ McCollum fan. I feel like those two probably didn't have their most amazing seasons. I felt like they had a little bit more to give there. Feels like they need something else. Someone like Brandon Miller's still got a pretty good trade value there. So maybe they said it
Brandon
need to.
Ingram.
Brandon Ingram, sorry, I got Miller on the mind. Maybe they need to kind of identify exactly what part they need on that team and look to trade something for him. Why his value is still reasonably good there. Look, they're a solid team. There's no doubt about it. The West is very good. They would have been quite a bit of a high seed in the East, I'm thinking. But yeah, look, it probably wasn't a bad season for them. They got it out of the play and they made the first round, but they need to come back next year and try and retool a little bit, and they probably will. I think they were pretty well coached there. So yeah, I've got some faith, and I quite like watching them as well. There's some likable players on that team.
Definitely, I agree with you. I think next year is time for them to look to take that extra step, right? Because they've
Yeah.
been solid for a couple of years, and some moves in the off season will hopefully take them to the next level. All right, let's move on. Clippers versus Mavericks. Now, Mavs winning 4-2. Are you surprised?
Yeah, probably a little bit. I mean, I'm not
Too.
overly surprised that Dallas won, but I thought it probably would have gone to 7 games. Look, we talked about it before, Woods. We saw, 2 Clippers games on their home court. We both sort of commented, even after the first game we saw them live, that, geez, they've got some good players, but, geez, they play like a very one-on-one brand of basketball. One guy tries to do his and everyone else kind of watches on. Probably not a massive shock that, Kawhi played 2 games, and I think the games he played, they didn't even win, maybe, from memory. A bit disappointing. I'm still not quite sure what to make of someone like Kawhi Woods. Is he someone that has these genuine injuries? Is he someone that hasn't got that ability to play through pain? I'm still not totally sure what's going on there, but I think this could be maybe the end of this Clippers big three, and I think probably it needs to be. They're moving to a new stadium next year. We know Steve Ballmer wants to get results from his team. He's certainly got massively deep pockets there, so I wonder what they'll do. Do they move on from someone like Paul George? Does he sit there every night crying that he traded SGA? It's probably going to be a trade that haunts them for quite a while, I would have thought. But yeah, a little bit of a disappointing way to end the season. But probably a little bit more credit goes to Dallas. I thought they were pretty good in this series. Shout out to my boy Russ for being just angry every single game. That was quite funny, that little confrontation. You see him foul Luka, and Luka's like, "What's that, Russ?" And Russ just sort of pushed him, and then PJ Washington got involved. So that was pretty amusing. But good to see Dallas and the 2 Aussies as well. Moving on, I like the style that they're playing. I like how they retooled the team during the trade deadline. I actually enjoyed Kyrie this year, which is probably not something I've always said about him. But pretty solid win by Dallas there to win it at 6.
Yeah, definitely. And Paul George, I think it's time to move on from him. Now, tell me a little bit about Russell Westbrook before we move to the next series. It's actually come out now that he wasn't actually as happy as initially reported about moving to the bench, even though in the public eye he said that it was okay. He really would prefer to have more of a prominent role next year. Is he gonna stay with the Clippers, or is he gonna find a new home?
It's a tough one with Russ, isn't it? Look, we've already seen him bouncing around a bit these last few years now. I remember, I had probably 3 or 4 OKC jerseys, and then he went to Washington or, Houston. He sort of kept on going to all these different teams. So I wonder if he'll become one of those sort of mercenary players that, changes team every year and a half to 2 years sort of thing, just to try and find that role that suits him. Look, he probably still could be a starter in the right situation, but he's got to realise he's, towards the end of his career. He can definitely still help out. I think probably at this stage he's better suited to a bench role, but, someone that's had so much success like him, it's easier said than done easier for us to say that when he still thinks he's the man out there. So, look, I love the guy, so I'm not going to say anything bad about him, but, maybe the Clippers situation isn't the best for him. Probably there's the plus side that he's playing in his home state there, but, not sure. I'm not sure. Does he want to go to a team that's, like a Charlotte or, like pick one of these sort of teams, that didn't make the playoffs and go there and try and be a bit more of the man, but then, imagine how miserable he would be on a 30-win team, right? So, yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts on Russ?
I definitely think he should come off the bench and find a team that I think towards the end of his stint at the Lakers, he fitted in and he enjoyed it. Even at the Clippers, he contributed really well this year. So I think a 6-man role and looking for a championship would be something that he should aspire towards. So I
Yeah,
agree with you.
agreed. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Timberwolves versus Suns. Another
Yeah.
series. Timberwolves.
My T-Wolves. Yeah.
T-Wolves 4, Suns 0.
Mate,
Now, I know you watched quite a bit of this series.
mate, loving the T-Wolves at the moment. So as you know, I'm very much cheering them on. I like to pat myself on the back very occasionally, Woods, but geez, I got this one right so far, didn't I? I tipped them to go really well this season. I love Cat. I was expecting a big season from him. I talked up Nas Reed when people didn't even know who the guy was. So pretty pleased to see all that happening. But I think it's some of their lesser parts that have fired here. Guys like McDaniel, guys like
Alexander Walker.
Exactly, he's the one I'm blanking on there. He's been really good, right? And then of course you got proven veterans that have been in the league for a while, with guys like Mike Conley, even though he took out his coach, and Rudy Gobert / Gobert. They've been really good, but loving the style that they're playing. I read something today that they were, I think, maybe like the 16th best offensive team in the regular season. So far in the playoffs, they're number one. So, number one, when you've got that sort of defense with guys like McDaniels, Gobert, and look, the one name I haven't mentioned yet, I've reeled off 7 Minnesota players. No, I've mentioned Nas Reed, is Ant Edwards, right?
So I thought Cat as well, right?
Oh yeah, no, I mentioned him at the start. Yeah, but and Ant Edwards, he's proving so hard to guard, right? We've seen that, and we'll talk a little bit about the Denver series later. But they can't find a matchup, someone that can guard him. He's too strong for sort of smaller, quicker guards. He's too quick if you put a real big guy on him. He's a real nightmare matchup, that guy, and just gets better every year. So, mate, they are really clicking at the right time. Phoenix, on the other hand, I tell you what, you talk about big threes. They pretty much gutted that team to, try and put that big three together there. I think you saw that graphic. I might have even sent it to you last week. They've just got nothing for the next few years. They don't have draft picks. They don't have salary cap. They've got nothing there, Wood. So I'm pretty concerned. If you're a Phoenix fan, you'd be pretty worried right now, because Bradley Beal just hasn't really delivered this year. I think he's kind of just a mid-range player now. Look, Kevin Durant was pretty average in this series. It's unusual when you look at a box score and you're seeing Durant had 17 points and stuff like that. So he wasn't the normal Kevin Durant. Look, Booker was fine. He still has those sooky faces, and gotta love those t-shirts that they were showing in Minnesota with his crybaby face. That was pretty amusing. But I think I don't know what they can do with that team there, because there's not a lot of options that they can do going forward, I don't think.
I mean, I threw out an idea: just keep Booker and Durant and potentially trade Beal for like a Sexton and a Clarkson to Utah, bring in a point guard that way, try and, keep an Eric Gordon type. I don't know, is it worth getting rid of a Nurkic and getting in a Vucevic or someone like that to try and, somehow get some little bit more depth there? I mean,
you need a bit of defense, though, don't you? That's the problem with it. I mean, look at that game. We can see the score there. They're giving up 122 to the Timberwolves, and who's their actual stoppers on that team? I think there's a lot of holes that they need to fill there.
Definitely, and that's a really tough contract to part ways with, that Bradley Beal, right? So it's hard to see them making any noise with, as you said, they don't have any assets to get anything to increase that depth there. So it's going to have to be some tricky management from the front office there to see what can happen. But the future doesn't look great there, does it?
No, definitely not.
All right, let's move on to Nuggets versus Lakers. Now 4-1, Nuggets won. But I mean, this is a very close series. It could have really gone the other way. Lakers were in pretty much every game, just couldn't close out games. It was actually a really fun series. I watched most of it. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, Denver's continues to have the wood over the Lakers. I mean, it ended up being a gentleman's sweep there, obviously. But you're right. A couple of those games could have gone either way. We saw Jamal Murray, hitting some big shots, as he likes to do there. Full credit to Denver. I'm not really loving their bench, and that's probably been evident against Minnesota in the second round. But they certainly seem to match up well with the Lakers there, and they've got, they seem to match up well with AD. Look, in terms of the Lakers, because obviously they're out now, and all the talk shows and podcasts are probably scrambling to find a new topic to talk about there. But that seems another team that's a little bit flawed now. Is LeBron guaranteed to coming back? What do you think, Woods? Do you think you want LeBron to be probably your third best player on a team at this stage of his career? I'd say that's probably where he's best suited. So, there's times where they've wanted him to be. Look, no doubt AD did have a good season, stayed relatively healthy, but I think there's been times where LeBron has been expected to still be the number one there, and I'm just not sure. And I don't think he should be a number one at his age and this, so many years under his legs there. So, again, a little bit like Phoenix, I'm not sure what kind of trade assets they have. I mean, who are they going to trade there? I mean, you've got someone like Austin Reeves. Perhaps a little bit disappointing, but probably only disappointing just based on his contract there. If he hadn't have signed I thought it wasn't a bad contract in the offseason. It wasn't huge by any means, but certainly when you're getting pretty decent money like that, people are expecting a little bit more. Thought he was a little bit inconsistent throughout the season and this series, but yeah, I guess that's the breaks right, and that shows you how tight the West are. Maybe they should have tried to have tank that first play-in game and get in and play OKC, but I guess that's something we'll never know now.
Yeah, so I mean, LeBron, you can't see him leaving the Lakers. His roots are settled there in Los Angeles.
Yeah, agreed.
He's gonna finish his career there. And do you think they'll draft Bronny this year just to lock that in for another few years?
Well, let's face it, he's been a GM pretty much all of his time playing, sort of thing. So very likely. I'd love to see another team just try and reach to draft Bronny, start of the second round or something, and then just try and get LeBron to go there. That'd be pretty funny. So, but yeah, I agree. I think he's got too much going on in LA for him to want to move now. I mean, could you imagine if he ended up going to some team that you wouldn't have thought of, like a Utah or something else like that? I don't think he'd be happy there. So yeah, expect that he'll be back with the Lakers next year.
All right, awesome. Let's move over to the Eastern Conference on the right-hand side of the screen. Celtics Heat 4-1. Heat decimated with injuries. Terry Rozier out, Jimmy Butler out. No surprise that the Celtics took that series 4-1, despite the Heat sort of being their, that bogey team of theirs.
Yeah, good riddance. Yeah, that's what I'll say. Shout out to our boy Sid. I know you're a Miami fan, Sid, and we love you. But yeah, I don't like the Heat. I don't like watching them play. I don't like a lot of the players on that team. So look, they obviously got the gentleman sweep as well. But there was a lot of games with sort of score lines like this. I just didn't think it was the most entertaining series. But I guess that's maybe what you expect from a 1 versus 8 seed there. But yeah, Miami, they've. Some of those lesser guys probably didn't achieve like they did in the playoffs last year. Some of these, non-drafted or second-round guys that stepped up last year. But, Boston did what they needed to do, and, it was a pretty comprehensive series win by them.
Yeah, so looking forward with the Heat, a bit like Kawhi lately, Jimmy Butler's always injured. He doesn't play a lot of games.
Yeah.
He misses a lot of games in the regular season, gets injured quite often. He's getting older. The Heat need to look forward to some youth, right? And not rely on the likes of Jimmy Butler being that guy anymore.
I can see the older Jimmy Butler gets, Woods, the more of a troublemaker he'll become, and he's always been a little bit difficult in locker rooms. We saw him get traded out of Minnesota, and I don't think things ended up great with Chicago, so I reckon that'll sort of continue that theme with him. I know Pat Riley's been a little bit annoyed about some comments he said this week, and he's kind of, almost seems like he's eyeing up other teams that he'd like to play for there, but hey, it could be worse. You're playing in South Beach, you're getting pretty good money, good weather, low taxes and stuff like that, so he should probably be happy with what he's got, but agreed, he's got to stay on the court.
Yep, for sure. It'll be interesting to see what the Heat do. I think they need to go through a period of rebuilding a little bit now, right?
Yeah, possibly so.
Rely on some new talent. Okay, Cavs versus Magic. Now this series is this one of the least entertaining 7-game series you could see, or what?
Not the best, right? It was that, very much like that NBA TV type series. You weren't getting a lot of national TV games or even games on ESPN out here. I believe it's Cleveland's first series win since before LeBron played for them the first time. So I thought that was a pretty crazy stat. So they finally got a series win without, LeBron James on their roster. Look, I think Donovan Mitchell was probably the storyline, wasn't he? He started a little bit slow, but really finished off with a bang and just put the team on his back there. Cleveland. Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced about that roster there. I think it was a pretty good matchup for them to get the young Orlando Magic. And probably at the end of the day, I think Orlando did pretty well to force this to 7 there. They'll probably, I wouldn't say they'll be happy. No one's happy about losing in the first round, but I think we called this when we did our predictions. They probably might just be happy to be there and, finally getting back to the playoffs. So they've got stuff they can build on there. They've got some good young talent. I think, maybe next year if they could get a slightly higher regular season seed, they might get maybe some home court advantage if things can go their way.
Yeah, they need a bit of shooting to add to that roster, I would think. But if you told them at the start of the season you'd be the number 5 seed and you'd lose in the first round in a 7-game series, you would have taken it with both hands, right? So
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're telling me that Brad Daugherty, Mark Price, those days Cavs were the last time that a series was won by the Cavs?
Yeah, I was trying to think that when I read that stat there. So so LeBron was drafted in what?
2004.
2004, so I'm just thinking, and obviously they were really bad to get him there, weren't they, for the number 1 pick? You're probably right, you'd be looking at, we'd have to get someone to fact check us there, but probably like a late 90s. So I'd say they must have made a playoffs after those Brad Daugherty and teams like that, but we'll need to check on sort of who they had in those times, because they did have a few ordinary years before LeBron went there and changed the fortunes of the franchise, I guess.
Yep. Okay. No worries. Thanks for that. Let's move on to Bucks versus Pacers. Pacers win 4-2. This upstart young team is really fun to watch, aren't they? The Pacers.
Funny enough, this is probably the series I saw the most of. It feels like a lot of these games were on ESPN. I was, at the previous house now packing a lot of stuff, and I'd always have it on. There was some pretty exciting games. There was the game, I think it was not last Saturday, the Saturday before, and there was like the two buzzer beaters, and it went to overtime. You saw Middleton hit one, then Halliburton hit one. So some entertaining games there. Look, a real shame for the Bucks. I would have thought someone like Giannis, I don't know how that injury was, but man, for him not to even take the court for the series was pretty surprising. And then, of course, we saw Dame go down, and he did come back and play in that the game 6 there, but clearly wasn't right. But look, you've got to stay healthy. Shout out to Indiana. I know we mentioned this on the last podcast. These were two teams that we saw live, and two teams that won when we saw them play live. And this Indiana team's pretty likeable. I think they don't have a lot of household names there. People will know Miles Turner and Halliburton, but some of these guys that sort of come on and contribute. My love for TJ McConnell. It feels like they've got a team of sort of your boy, yeah, and they've got a team of unsung sort of players there, and they come on and they deliver. So yeah, quite liking their style. Look, we know their offense is good. They're continuing to score high points there. And yeah, absolute full credit for them to make it to the second round, and probably the big upset in knocking off the Bucks.
Yeah, and what's next for the Bucks? I want to ask you a question. Is Doc Rivers the right coach for the Bucks going forward?
Some could possibly argue that Doc Rivers isn't the right coach for any team going forward, Woods. Look, I don't like to say that about the former Atlanta Hawks point guard. It was actually the point guard of the team pretty much when I first started going for him in those early 80s sort of periods there. But I don't know, his coaching record's not amazing, isn't it? He got obviously his title with Boston. He got a Coach of the Year award very early on with Orlando, but it's kind of what has he done since then? He has some questionable decisions. I thought his defense was going to probably improve over Griffin's defense there, and I think all the metrics and stats for them actually went down after they made that change there. And it was clearly the players that had a lot to do with Griffin's firing and getting Doc on board. But yeah, I don't know. He's a very high-profile coach. I wonder if he's someone whose voice isn't being heard anymore. And I'm not just saying it because his voice is always croaky, but yeah, I don't know what it is. I do think if you're talking in that overrated coach category, he's definitely one that comes to mind for me as an overrated coach.
I agree with you. He's a very intense person. I was telling a friend the other day, Jimmy, shout out to Jimmy, that look, with that Boston Celtics team, they had a really intense guy in Kevin Garnett. The game was a lot different back then as well, right? It was much slower, grinded out in the playoffs, and it worked because him and Kevin Garnett kind of were on the same wavelength. But the game has passed a lot of those old coaches by. Yeah. And I think it's time for the Bucks front office to look for some new blood there, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Knicks versus 76ers. People are dubbing this as one of the greatest series in recent playoff history, even though it only went to 6. We saw the emergence of Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brunson, right? How fun was this, right? And did you get to watch much of it?
Yeah, I did. This is one, even sort of if I was just catching extended highlights, I've obviously got there's a few guys I like in this team. Josh Hart, maybe a chance for MVP next season. We'll see how that goes. Obviously being very cheeky saying that, but geez, he's played well, and he really, this Villanova 3 that they've got there with DiVincenzo, Brunson and Josh are just really clicking there. But yeah, probably like you mentioned, in the Lakers-Denver series, it was possibly a lot closer than what the scoreline suggested there. Philadelphia could have won those first 2 games there. There was certainly some heroics from guys like Maxey and Brunson, which was really fun to see. Love some of the home crowds in these games as well, which are really, really getting excited. There was guys from Philly giving it to Knicks guys in the crowds and stuff like that. And it was a good series. I think definitely the best team won. It's good to see basketball thriving in New York again. I think the league's probably better, when it's all clicking there. But got to give a lot of credit to Jalen Brunson, right, Woods?
Oh, man, he's just taken his game to the next level. I said, when he came out of college, never would we have thought that he would have, developed into this kind of player. Even in Dallas, he was a good sixth man. Did anyone actually think this guy? He's a superstar, straight up.
Yeah, no one predicted this, and if they're saying it, they did, then they're probably lying. I would have thought. So he came in. He was a little bit undersized, not the fastest point guard in the league. His shot was a little bit streaky. There was question marks about his defense, and just everything he's kind of proven wrong now. He's never going to be the biggest sort of guy there, but he can score on anyone, right? So he's got that left-handed game, which always seems to be hard hard to defend, but he seems to regularly put up, 40-point games there just with these days. He actually started off a bit slow in this series as well, and his percentages were down, but then he really found his stride after that, and he killed it. Absolutely
He's a
killed
level
it.
scorer as well, he goes to the mid-range as well, which I like, So,
Yep, definitely.
All right, 76ers is an interesting one, Tyrese Maxey, the futures with him there. What do they do? What does someone like Joel Embiid look at doing? I mean, he's been here for like over a decade now.
Well, firstly, Woods, who was that guy we saw play for Philadelphia in my first ever NBA game that impressed the heck out of us? What was his name?
In your first ever NBA game? Oh, Tobias.
So what happened to him, right? I think he got 2 points in that Game 6 game there. He was ordinary all season. So, yeah, we know he's always had a big contract. But, how can someone that we saw just dominate and score on every part of the court there be such an ineffective player in a playoff series? What up with that? I mean,
that's also been the knock on him over the years, right? He's got all the skills, all the talent, right? A baller. But there's times he just disappears, right? That's maybe why he's got all the skills to be an all-star in this league, but he's never actually, taken that step, has he? So
no. He won't be back, will he?
No, he won't be. And it's been a nice long tenure. He's been a great servant for the 76ers, but I think the tenure's ended there. And
they need to start fresh, I think. Yeah, but in terms of Embiid, look, I mean, I don't see him going anywhere. I think if they were to have another season like this next year and it's a first round exit, I think you could see him being quite vocal and trying to, force his way out of there. But geez, he's been there a long time now. If you talk about longest tenured players, he'd have to be right up there now, wouldn't he?
For sure.
These superstars don't normally stay as long as he's had. Again, someone that needs to stay healthy in crucial times, and that did sort of play a part with him a little bit in this series. But he had some pretty big games. I don't think you can sort of fault him for what happened in this series. I think they just came up against a better and deeper team in New York.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. All right, let's move on to the Eastern Conference, the second round, Eastern Conference semifinals we're up to at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So Celtics versus Cavaliers we saw today at the Garden. Shout out to Pranav, our boy, who we met up with in LA.
Yeah.
He was actually at the Garden today.
Did he get his Peyton Pritchard jersey, I wonder? And did he get like a triple XL one, like he got that one of the Clippers that sort of went down to his knees? We'll have to find out.
I did talk to him. Peyton Pritchard did beat the buzzer with a shot today, and I was texting him during that. So Celtics took care of business easily today. Can you see the Cavaliers challenging the Celtics at all in this series?
Get your brooms out for this series, I reckon, Woods. I don't see this going very long at all. And also, if you've got a phone, Woods, can you maybe just dial Darius Garland's number and just let him know that the playoffs have started? So you might need to do that. But I see this being a pretty ordinary series, to be honest, and probably not one that I'll watch a great deal of time with. I think not a lot of tests so far for the Celtics so far, and maybe good. Do we know what Porzingis' status is? Is he due back?
Next round.
Okay, so that's probably good. So if they can try and really get the sweepy sweep happening there and perhaps get a bit of a break, because you can see Pacers and Knicks potentially going a bit longer, hopefully longer than this series will, so potentially get some guys healthy there. But yeah, I think Cleveland are just sort of fodder for the Celtics team, really.
Yeah, and Jared Allen is game time decision, if I'm not mistaken, to come back. They've really missed him, right?
They definitely are, yeah. And again, some of these
Merrill and Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, too much Tristan Thompson, right? You look at that. There's a few sort of older guys on this roster now. You're like, what? They're on that team, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think Boston's just far too deep and far too a polished a team to probably even drop one game in this series, I would have thought.
Yep. And we move to the other side of the Eastern Conference. We've got the Pacers versus Knicks. What a storied rivalry between these two ball clubs, right?
Yeah.
It was a great game one. I really thoroughly enjoyed that game. Pacers really, your boy TJ McConnell, man, putting on a show, right?
Yeah.
But then the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, your boy Josh Hart, they all stepped up at crucial times. I know there's a bit of controversy around some of the different calls by the refs in that game, and some feel the Pacers were hard done by. But what are your thoughts there?
Look, they did get some ordinary calls in that game. There's no doubt about that. And people are saying it's this conspiracy thing for New York. I think perhaps this Knicks team needs to get a little bit more credit than they're getting, Woods. I mean, they're playing without their all-star, and another one of my favourites, and Julius Randle. You can see why I love this Knicks team, right? They're also playing out with someone that they're playing without someone. Exactly. So he's someone that they traded at the trade deadline there. Didn't give up a whole lot for him there, but they anticipated him being someone that could come on and hit big shots, maybe get hot in a play playoff series or in a quarter or a game in a playoff series there. So playing without him, he's out for the season as well. So, and look, their centres have been sort of up and down. Hartenstein's been really good, I thought. Yeah, and they've just got some guys, McBride and sort of other guys like that can come off the bench and fire. But yeah, like Josh Hart, I don't want to make it the Josh Hart show because I could probably talk about him all day. But his scoring is just showing me even more. He's really worked on his 3-point shot. That's really evident with him. He's really picked up his shooting. That was probably something he wasn't great, with playing in those first few seasons, with the Lakers and the Pels and even the Blazers there. But he's really improved that part of his game. We know he's the world's greatest ever rebounder pound for pound for his height. It's just remarkable what he does at 6'4". But yeah, I'm looking forward to this series as well. I'm liking seeing the Garden packed. But I don't think they can take Indiana lightly. I expect Indiana to try and, they probably will potentially make this a longer series there, and it should be fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited. Now, you mentioned those injuries to Julius Randle and Bogdanovic, right? Tom Thibodeau, we know what he does, man. We know with his All Bulls teams playing his guys into the ground. Pretty much 5 guys, and the bench barely play. I think they got 3 points out of their bench in game 1, and you got 48 minutes for every single minute Josh Hart played, right?
Yeah.
Now, as you go deeper into a playoff run, and these guys are just playing 48, 44, 45 minutes, is that fatigue gonna set in potentially?
Look, it could, but they seem like they're all in pretty good health, those guys you're talking about there. So, and look, I think that's not going to be a shock to them. They know that, Tibbs is going to play in big minutes. So hopefully it won't. I'd hate to see someone like Brunson or Josh, break down or whatever. But no, look, if I could pick a finals matchup, I'd love to see Woods to be Minnesota against New York. I'd like to see that. A lot of my favourites will be playing in that series. But yeah, I'm hoping Knicks get through. And then if they do play Boston, I'd love them to knock off the Celtics in the conference finals.
Hey man, I reckon Tibbs needs to have a chat to some of the NBL coaches who are only playing 40 minutes and need to play 10 or 11 players.
I thought you were going to talk about his dress code. Maybe talking to some of those NBL players. Yeah. Have you ever seen that guy like in a suit or wearing anything sort of stylish? He's got the baggy clothes all the time and stuff like that. He's a funny man, Tibbs, for sure.
I like him. All right, let's move over to the Western Conference. We saw the Mavericks and Thunder today. I watched that game closely. Mavericks nearly got back into the game, but the Thunder just broke away. But I think that some adjustments will be made here, and this is going to be a really close series. Who you got, actually?
It was a pretty big margin at the end today. Probably, maybe didn't sort of, do Dallas justice. You're not going to get a lot of Luka games like that, are you? 19 points, yet quite a few turnovers, not a great shooting percentage. But yeah, look, I think OKC is going to win. I just like the style they're playing with now, and just having a guy that's such a good closer when the games do get close in SGA. Actually, wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't go to 7 and perhaps the Thunder finish this in 5 or 6, which is maybe a little bit of a surprise there. But yeah, look, you're right. I think Dallas will make adjustments and come back a little bit harder in these next games, and then try and hold their games on the home court there. But I like the matchups for sure. I just think maybe OKC's clicking at a bit of a better time than the Mavs.
Yeah, I had Mavericks in 7 at the start before today, but
interesting. Yeah,
looking at the game today, I might have adjusted that slightly, but I'm going to stick with Mavericks to win this series. Someone like Josh Giddey today only played 16, 17 minutes, and Wiggins, not Andrew Wiggins, the other Wiggins.
Well, no, he hit a couple of big threes as well. The game was sort of close. I think it was maybe the second period. He hit threes on consecutive possessions there. So that shows you guys like him. Aaron Wiggins, is it?
Aaron Wiggins.
So yeah, he came on and made a bit of a difference there. And I'm liking this team. They've always been a fun team to watch this season, haven't they? You've got guys like Chet just running up the court like he's someone that's a foot shorter, and Lou Dortz, playing pretty good defense, and you got the Williamses there. So they're a fun team to watch, the Thunder.
Yeah, the Dortcher chamber. I heard Grant Hill use that today, right?
Nice.
And Luka was saying he's one of the top wing defenders in the whole league. So I
still kind of cringe when he shoots it though, Lou Dort. He's one of those players that when he shoots it, I'm not expecting it to go in. When it does, I'm like, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
He's a cool cat. It's cool. Right. Yeah. Timberwolves versus Nuggets. Over to you.
Yeah. Go to T-Wolves, mate. This is unbelievable, isn't it? 2-0 so far, and the games haven't really been that close, have they? Look, shout out to probably their defense firstly, Minnesota. Like we said, Rudy Gobert didn't play in game 2, and it didn't really seem to impact them there. big win there. All their star guys are clicking. They're getting bench contributions. They're being very well coached. And it's like I sort of mentioned earlier as well, the number one offense in the playoffs there. It's just proving too much for Denver. The one thing that worries me about Denver, Woods, and I think it's probably something that's not a secret for them, is that bench on there. It's just horrendous, that bench. I mean, their best player is a guy called Brown who doesn't even spell his surname correctly, and that's like their best player. And then, like, who else is on that bench? Like, would you be trusting guys like Reggie Jackson or, DeAndre Jordan or whoever these other guys are?
Holiday, man. Justin Holiday, right?
Well, they got desperate with him, didn't they? Because they tried about 3 different guys on Ant-Man, and they tried, Holiday on there, who's, bounced around a fair bit. So, yeah, that bench, I mean, that's the price you pay for winning a championship. Guys like, Bruce Brown's value goes up and he goes. Exactly. You get these they get these guys that sort of just, will get a little bit of a pay rise for the fact that they're champion players now. And, you need to pay your stars, and it doesn't leave you with much money left. So, what do you think about Jamal Murray throwing the old heat pack on the court? That was interesting.
Man. Yeah. It's not the right thing to do. It could be dangerous. I mean, lucky he didn't throw it in a harmful way, right? But still,
he should get a game for that. He's not going to, but I wonder if that was other players. 100%. Yeah, you imagine what Draymond's sort of feeling when he says that. If Draymond did that, that probably would have been 10 games, and obviously he's got a massive rap sheet there. But yeah, it was interesting. He actually threw a towel before that. Did you see that? So he threw a towel that didn't make the distance there, and then he threw this heat pack on. So pretty crazy stuff.
He's laying some bricks as well, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Okay. Really interesting to see how things play out, man. Quickly, I want to just go through some of the awards which we haven't spoken about that have been announced recently. So today, Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year. You happy with that?
Yeah, happy enough with that. I think it's one of those things that always comes down. They like the team's record as well. And, Minnesota did surprise a lot of people, except for me. But, yeah, their team defense and the way he led them from the center position was pretty good. How many Defensive Player of the Years has he won now?
4.
4 now. Wow. So if he retires at the end of the season, Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I mean,
got to be, right?
For sure.
If you've won that award 4 times, that's like basically in the book right already. So
who's won it more? Has Ben Wallace won it more potentially 5 times?
We'd have to check that. Yeah. He's copped a little bit of flack for missing that game due to the birth of his first child. Woods. I'm going to put you on the spot now. You don't have kids. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that's rightfully criticism he's getting, or do you think he's done the right thing there?
No, he's done the right thing there, man. Your first kid's getting born is one of the happiest moments of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 5-time Defensive Player of the Year, by the way, for Ben Wallace.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so let's and they won anyway. It's 2-0, and now
exactly.
they go back home to try to close this out. Okay, Mark Nagnall, Coach of the Year. No surprise there. He takes his young upstart OKC team to be number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Well deserved, correct?
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you know who was second in the award? I didn't get a chance to sort of check out that was there, but he deserves that. Look, I think we've mentioned him before. He's the guy that you could probably go up to your local shopping centre.
Not Chet. That was Rookie of the Year. Sorry.
No, so you're talking about Mark Dagnall, Coach of the Year.
I don't know who was second in the Coach of the Year.
Okay. Well, you could walk up to your local shopping centre and probably walk past him, and most people anyway not recognise him. That's what I sort of like about him there. He doesn't have that sort of name or face that people will recognise straight away, but he's got so much out of this young team. And yeah, it's good to see him getting an award. And again, it's very much a team-based award. You're not going to get Coach of the Year if your team's won 39 games or something like that. So full credit to him for winning that.
Yeah, for sure. So moving on to Rookie of the Year, Chet was second. That's what I meant to say. And Wemby first. No surprise there.
Unanimous, right? I'm not sure about these people getting Jaime Haskins Jr. the third place votes. I think there was 10 people that voted for him over Brandon Miller. Thought that was a little bit random. I think it was a pretty clear-cut top 3: Wemby, then Chet, then Brandon Miller. But anyway, the Mexican got a few votes there, but no arguments at all. I mean, he's an absolute freak, and it was an amazing season. So yeah, looking forward to more and more Wemby every year.
Yeah, for sure. How fun is he to watch as well, right? So Tyrese Maxey, most improved. I think we covered this on a previous episode. No surprise there.
Yeah, no surprise. It's like a superstar sort of award, this one, isn't it? It's someone that was a star last year that's taken a level up. So I think we'll note that in our predictions for next season. It's not going to be someone that had an average season. It's someone that had a great season that'll go a level up. So someone like Anthony Edwards could win it next year, Woods. Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Naz Reid, 6th Man of the Year. I know you're very happy about that.
Yeah, well deserved.
Yep, cool. All right, man. Looks like we're running out of time. We'll bring back classic packs next week. Any final thoughts? take the guys out, take the audience out on where we can be found.
Yeah. Well, look, obviously, very heavy NBA episode this time, and I thought we had to do that. It's, heating up in the second round of the playoffs. We've certainly been keeping an eye out on the NBL, haven't we? There hasn't been a lot of free agent sort of signings. The ones that have been trickling through are ones that we've kind of already talked about. They've sort of just been made official now. Before I get into the formalities, had a great weekend of NBL 1 last week, Woods. I know you, of course, were having Jonathan Bender big nights out, and you didn't join me for the games the next day, but you'll get there the next one. But, I did 4 games within, basically less than a day. So I did 2 games on the Saturday night and 2 games on the Sunday lunchtime. So the Mighty Hills Hornets won 3 of the 4 games. That was really good. Got to give a bit of a shout-out to Canberra, though, and the men's NBL 1 Eastwoods. This team... They're probably my tip to go all the way after seeing them. They're a really good, well-balanced team. You've got guys like Glenn Morrison and Will Mayfield there who are just absolute guns. And, of course, we've got James Toohey, older brother of your boy Alex Toohey there. He was pretty handy. So, but good to see, the Hills and men's women's team. It's the first time I'd seen the Hills women's team win 2 games in a row for a long time. They only won 1 game on their home court last year, and they've already, the games we've commentated, they've already exceeded that total already. And it's great to see the Hills men's team, Chris Bryan and Ish Sanders, 2 really good imports that are playing on that team. So, NBL 1 East has really improved this year. I'm really looking forward to seeing Manly Woods. Hills have got them at home. My boy Mason Bragg is playing for Manly, of course, former Perth Wildcat, who is one of my more random jerseys in the wardrobe. I do have a Mason Bragg Perth Wildcats jersey, so I may take that to that game and get him to sneakily sign that for me, but he is killing it. He's just putting up, he had a game last week, 15 assists or something as well. So, that's my little NBL 1 wrap. Perhaps next week we can talk a little bit more about, NBL 1 and everything. But, look, in terms of all the formalities and stuff like that, Woods, of course, please make sure you're liking and subscribing to us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I had a few people actually in the last few weeks say, what's your Instagram handle? Or, so I actually got us a few extra subscribers and downloads just at the Hills game on the weekend. It was at least 5, I think. People were coming up and sort of talking. People recognise me. You're the guys from Throwback Hoops. That's pretty cool. So, you can find us on X at Throwbacks Hoops, on Instagram, throwback.hoops. Our email address is throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Look, we mentioned Patreon most weeks as well. If you feel like pledging some support to us, a couple of dollars a month, it would really help us with the production and editing and all the expenses that we incur doing this weekly podcast.
Thanks, Robbie. And look, as always, appreciate everyone's support. I know we had a hiatus for about a week, but with the NBA playoffs heating up, there's a lot to talk about. Really excited to, now that you've settled into your house and everything like that.
Yeah, hey, Woods, on that, if anyone's got any feedback, good or bad, about this new background, hit me up. Let me know what you think. Is there I've got a few shelves to fill actually there now, and you can see some random stuff. But it'll probably evolve a little bit more. Then I've still got a lot of stuff in storage. But I'm loving being here, Woods, and great to be back.
Yep, awesome. And from Robbie and I and the whole team at Throwback Hoops, peace out.